Hello YouTube fam, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Tina and I make videos on lifestyle, home, and DIY projects every single week. This month we're making progress on my entryway, and you guys saw in my last video that I DIY'd an IKEA bench. And in today's video we are going to be making our own DIY console table. You guys saw that in the living room makeover video I DIY'd my own furniture piece, so that was my first time making anything, and I'm really happy with how the coffee table came out, so I've been inspired to DIY even more furniture pieces. So today we are building our own entryway console table. I've been searching online for the perfect one, but I realized that the style that I'm going for is really simple and also very DIYable. So I'm gonna take you guys along that journey today. Before we get started, I quickly want to thank EveryPlate for sponsoring today's video. You guys know that I love EveryPlate, so I'm excited to show you what I make this week. First things first, I need to gather all of my materials, so I'm gonna take you over to the hardware store and see what we can find. Alright, so we're going to need 2 pieces of wood, and at first I was looking at the 1x12s, but then I wanted something more substantial, so I headed over to the 2x10s, and I chose the flattest pieces I could find. You could also get a 2x12 to make this wider, but my space is small, so I went with a 10-inch one. And to make our lives a little bit easier, we got these 8-foot long boards cut in half in store. For this project, I'm following along a tutorial that I found on a blog post by 100 Things to Do, and I'm customizing it to my space. I will link it below so you guys can see it step by step, as well as all the cuts and measurements that I use personally for my exact table. Okay, so I drew everything out just so that I could visualize this better, but I basically have to cut out 3 different parts because this top one is already 48 inches, which is perfect. The 2 legs are going to be 32 inches, and then after we cut that and kind of set it all up, we'll be able to measure the distance for this bottom ledge. In the blog post that I followed, I believe her tabletop was 56, and then this bottom one was 44 inches. I'm making mine a little bit shorter, so I'll just figure it out when we get there. So I have my cut list. It is pretty simple, so I'm just going to head downstairs and get started. Okay, so I have my boards over here. We basically got 2 2x10s. These were both 8 feet long, so we had them cut it in half. The thickness on this is actually more like 1.5 and also by 9.5. So not sure why lumber measurements are always like that, but that's how it is. So these are nice and thick, and also I couldn't find a more neutral wood, so this is what we grabbed. I believe it is cedar, and it was pretty inexpensive. It was $18 for each of the boards, so pretty affordable project here. And I love all the imperfections in the wood, all the different grooves and knots and things, because we're definitely going to make this look even more vintage. I'm gonna go through each of these boards and figure out which one I actually want to be the tabletop, and then we can get to distressing it. Okay, I have to change because there's no way that I'm DIYing in a knit sweater. Oh, yep, it definitely is. Okay. This board is the winner. First, we need 2 legs with 10-degree angles that are parallel on both ends. So I set my miter saw to 10 degrees and I made my first cut on one end. This is the new edge of our leg, and I want this to be 32 inches long, so I marked that on the other end, and then I just cut it the same exact way that I made the first cut so that they are parallel. Now that that's looking good, we're gonna go ahead and just repeat that onto the other piece to create 2 legs. Okay, we're gonna take this piece and put it all together, see how it's looking, and also, it's literally a maze down here. I need to clean, but that'll be for another day. Okay, so I have my 3 pieces over here. I'm gonna put them all together, and then that way we can figure out the length for the last bottom piece. For the bottom shelf piece, I measured 4 inches up from the bottom of each of the 2 legs, and from there I calculated the approximate length between the 2, which ended up being 40 inches. The angled cuts here are also going to be 10 degrees on both sides, but this time they are not going to be parallel. The angles are going to face inward to create an isosceles trapezoid. I know, fancy geometry term. So when I go to make my second cut, all I'm doing is flipping the board over so that the angles will be inverted. Oh my god, you guys, it is getting there. I love, 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 love it. And can we please just take a moment to appreciate this edge right here? Oh my god, gorgeous. This is gonna be the side that you see when you walk in through the entryway, so very happy about that. What's funny is that when I first jumped into this project, I thought that I was going to spend a bunch of time to distress it and make it look old and vintage, but I actually really love the texture on here, so I think I'm gonna keep it as is. And I think that has a lot to do with the wood that I chose, but if you wanted to, you could take the time right now to distress it a whole bunch, so you could use a drill, a chisel, whatever you wanna use to make this look old and vintage. You can go ahead and do that at this point. I'm just gonna do a tiny bit of distressing and then a lot of sanding. All right, so we're taking a quick pause on the project to thank today's video sponsor, EveryPlate. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I'm a big fan of EveryPlate. And if you haven't heard of EveryPlate yet, they're America's best value meal kit that gets delivered straight to your door. And EveryPlate dinners are the cheaper and healthier alternative to takeout or delivery. They offer over 10 chef-designed recipes every week, so there's a lot to choose from. And every meal is about $4.99 per serving, which I think is a great value. So far, I've really loved every one of their meals, but this one has to be one of my top favorites, and it was just so easy to make as well. It's been so nice spending more time in the new kitchen, and one of the reasons why I really love EveryPlate is because I get to learn new recipes and things to cook every week, and it just keeps making dinner feeling fresh and exciting every night, because I definitely go through recipe rut as a newbie chef. And if you really like a recipe, you can also choose their double up option, which allows you to select more than one meal of your choice. The recipes come together in about 30 minutes, which is honestly faster than a trip to the grocery store, so you can spend more time cooking with your family or significant other at home and less time shopping and meal planning. EveryPlate gives you all the ingredients you need and everything is already pre-measured, so it makes it super easy and also saves food from going to waste. And not to mention, EveryPlate is pledging to offset 100% of their carbon emissions, which is super awesome. Okay, this is my first time making anything like this, and I really, really like it, especially since it's a potato bun and the honey mustard on here. And of course, I have a discount code for you guys, so you can order your first EveryPlate box for just $1.79 per meal. Plus, you'll also get 20% off your next 2 boxes with my code TinaLay9. And I'll have all that good info down below so you guys can check it out. So I ended up just sanding all of the boards normally, except for the tabletop. I did end up doing a little bit of distressing with a few tools, and using the edge of my sander, I added in some grooves along the edge, and that looked really good. Okay, so I quickly wanted to show you guys, look at the difference in the colors. So these two are sanded, and then this one is the unsanded one. And I did wipe this off, so it's not just the sawdust sitting on there. We could tell that this knocked down some of those yellowy, reddish undertones. So I'm actually quite happy with that color, but I'm still also going to do a test piece to see if I want to stain it or not. You could also see some of this red veining going on, and that also knocked off quite a bit of it. So yeah, don't judge a book by its cover. Sometimes sanding it is just what you need to bring it back to life. So now we're gonna go ahead and put it all together. I'm going to put in pocket holes. So I grabbed a little pocket hole jig. I've never used anything like this before. I watched a bunch of tutorials, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed. It looks simple enough, and I know that if I can do it, then you guys can totally tackle this DIY. So let's open this up and get to pocket holing. Alright, so the pocket hole jig is pretty easy to use. First, you need this little tool to gauge how thick the board is. That way you could set both the jig as well as the collar on the drill to get the right size. And since this board is over 1.5 inches, these holes are going to be a little bit deeper. I placed the jig along the edge of the board and clamped it down so that way everything was nice and sturdy. From there, all you need to do is to drill in the hole so that it is at a nice angle, and I'm doing 4 altogether. You'll also notice a piece of masking tape on each of the boards, and that's actually what I used to mark the inside of the board, so I knew exactly where I needed each one of my pocket holes to go. this piece, I'm drilling on the underside and I'm gonna do it on both ends so that it's super secure. Oh, well, it's dead. Okay, we're back. It is finally time to put it all together, so I measured in 8 inches from each side of the tabletop, and that's where I'm placing each of the legs, but first I'm going to add some wood glue to the edge for a stronger bond. I'm making sure that the legs align perfectly with the tabletop, and then I'm going to go ahead and take some 2-inch pocket hole screws and drill that right in with the driver bit that came with the Craig kit. And once these screws are in, you're going to see that the angle of each of the legs is going to sit nice and flush against the tabletop. And even with a quick wiggle, you're going to see that it is super sturdy. For the bottom shelf, I actually ended up putting the table on its side first, just to make sure that I can drill it exactly where I wanted it to be. And once that was in, I just flipped it back over and then drilled in the rest of the screws. You could totally build this table without the bottom shelf, but I feel like it really completes it. Not only does it look beautiful, but it's also a very functional feature of this table, and it also makes it more sturdy. So to plug these holes right here, all I'm doing is taking a little bit of wood putty, and then adding it to the hole and just kind of flattening it out a little bit. I saved all of these little pieces so that I could plug it up, and that way it'll match the wood better. I have weathered oak here, which is the color that I think I'm going with, but I want to do a test piece just to make sure. Whoa, super gray. Oh my God, you can even see that right here. Look how gray that is. After adding that initial layer of stain, I could already tell that I was not feeling it, so I went ahead and just added a matte poly to the other side to see if it would change the color of the natural wood tone. After applying the stain, I think that I actually just like the regular natural wood finish better. I actually really love the way that this looks, so I'm just gonna do 3 coats of the matte polyurethane and we'll be done. Before staining, I would highly recommend to use a tack cloth to get rid of any sawdust so that the surface is clean and ready to go. And for the polyurethane, I usually like to go with a foam brush or a foam roller like I'm using here. I'm going to add 3 coats to the entire piece to make sure that it's nice and protected, and since I'm using a water-based one, I only had to wait 2 to 4 hours in between each coat. And the nice thing about this is if I ever do want to change it up, I can easily sand it down to paint or stain it in the future. I am beyond happy with how our beautiful console table turned out. I just love how much character it has with so many grooves and imperfections. I've seen similar tables online that are much more expensive, and for under $50 I was able to create a piece that is going to be perfect for my entryway, and I cannot wait to fully decorate this space. I had to film with the door open because it's really gloomy today and this spot really does not get that much light, but I am in love with it. For the after shots, I just wanted to lightly style it with things around the house, but obviously we're going to be getting new decor and then redoing this whole wall so that it is complete. I'm so in love with how this came out. I can't believe I built my dream console table for under 50 bucks. I really hope this video inspires you guys to try building your own furniture pieces and try something small like this. This was very simple. Just 4 boards, 3 different leg cuts, and you're done. I'm beyond happy with how this project turned out. I think it looks so professional and it's such a great beginner build. Building furniture is something that is completely new to me, so if it's something that you guys have been wanting to try, I would say go for it. It is so much easier once you just started, and I would love to hear your thoughts down below. And if you have any suggestions on what furniture piece I can build next, I would love to hear it in the comments. And again, a big thank you to Everyplay for sponsoring today's video. If you guys want to check them out and get your first box for only $1.79 per meal, I'll have all that that info below. Don't forget to follow me over on Instagram if you would like to see posts from me every single day. And that is it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Stay inspired, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!